Good afternoon and welcome to 802 Scoop, located right here on North Main Street in Barrie, live from the Inside Scoop studio at 185 North Main. Today I have a couple of special guests in the studio with me, and I always look forward to having Circle of Washington County in here, such an important part of our community and one that I don't feel gets talked about quite enough. And they're here with some special messages and some things that are happening in our community that we should all know about. So I'm going to turn it right over and let them take the wheel and tell you everything there is. We have Diane Kinney and Riley O'Hagan. Yeah, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Good. So good afternoon and welcome.
Hi, Raylene. Thanks for having us. We always love visiting with you, and we appreciate all of the support that you give to our organization. Just so everybody knows, Circle is the domestic and sexual violence agency in Washington County, and we provide a 24-hour hotline, a safe house, legal advocacy, support groups, housing advocacy, and we try and help as much as we can with whatever. I always tell people, call us if we can brainstorm with you and connect you to any of the organizations that we work with. We collaborate with many organizations in this county and can help people to get results and learn what they're doing. The first thing I want to say today is that the Vermont legislature is working on the Vermont budget, and today we're hoping that if you are available and you want to, you could let your senators know to fund domestic and sexual violence services, because our agencies, there's 15 of us across the state, and we have been level funded for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vermont Network, which is our member organization, is asking for an increase of $1.2 million. And we know that right now there are a lot of things that need to be funded.
Right.
And we are asking that people pay attention to survivors of domestic and sexual violence.
And I think it's important that we say, you've been level funded for 10 years, but the need for the services has increased
dramatically.
A
Yes.
lot. Yeah. And
Yes.
so you've worked as hard as you possibly can through that level funding. And you, in order to carry on, have a full staff, have what you need to provide the services. This is something that you really need to have happen.
Well, the amount of services we provided in like just the last 2-3 years have increased by at least 10% every year. And there's only, right now, we are short-staffed.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody is interested, anybody listening is interested in helping us out in our shelter, working with kids,
Please.
we do have, Riley was there this morning working with kids because we don't have anyone right now and we need somebody. If you are at all interested in working with us, send your resume to info@circlevt.org and I will get it and we will chat. So right now there's 5 of us working full-time and about 3 people part-time on the weekend and about 4 or 5 hotline volunteers.
Yeah.
And we answer over 400 calls per month.
It's 24/7.
Yep.
So
Right. So the other thing we want to talk about today is the need for volunteers. Riley has a training coming up.
Yeah, I can take over a bit. I am planning volunteer training coming up towards the end of April. We're gonna shoot for Wednesday nights. In order to volunteer with us at Circle, you need to be crisis worker privilege certified.
Yep.
And that requires 20 hours of training. We try to do about 15 of those in person. That way we can meet y'all, work together, have a fun time, and then the rest of the 5 just looking at resources and kind of learning on your own. We are shooting to have at least 10 new volunteers come June. And, reach out to me. I'm Riley at circlevt.org if you are interested in participating in that. We're definitely looking for people to help staff our hotline, work with kids in the shelter, do any type of programming. There's a lot of things we could use help on. So if you have a special skill that you want to help us out with, volunteer training will be a super fun time. And I hope anyone listening, if you're interested, let me know. And I'd love for you to come.
It is fun. It's also really hard.
It is. It is hard.
What we do every day is often very gut-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
And we also get to watch folks blossom.
Mm-hmm.
So folks that haven't really been able to have control over their lives find ways to do that, and we support them in whatever way they want to do that. We do, like I said, we have a shelter. We have 6 bedrooms in our shelter, and we're basically full most of the time. But we provide as much support as we can for folks to help them to feel safe.
And that support is a really big umbrella because you often have people coming to you with nothing, with children most of the time, not all the time, but clothes on their back, very little in tow. And so the service that you provide is actually a pretty big net of what you are providing to the people that come to you. And
yeah, often folks that come to our shelter, the reason they come to shelter is because they have absolutely nowhere else to go. Often these are folks who have been in a violent relationship for a very long time. And the longer you're in the relationship, the more isolated you are. Abusers tend to use isolation as a way of controlling. So often by the time folks would come into our shelter, they don't have any friends. They don't have any family because those friends and family are tired of watching, which is understandable, and you can't give up on people.
And sometimes it can be fear too, because I mean, if the family members know, or even a friend know the situation you're in, it can be, a lot to say, can I stay with you knowing that there might be some consequence or some, retaliation of sorts. We've certainly seen it in the community time and time again, and to pretty significant levels of actual death and things involved. So it's something, this isn't anything to be taken lightly, what you all do or what you're asked to do, and what the people struggling through all of this are going through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot.
Well, and the main thing we ask of our volunteers and of ourselves is to just be supportive of the person where they are.
Yeah.
And a lot of the training that we do is helping people figure out how to do that. Because often, if if we see someone struggling, we see someone being hurt, we want to intervene. And sometimes people intervene by saying to the person, why don't you just leave? And it's not that easy.
Right, it's not. I
not,
know.
It's not that easy
It's not
to do.
that easy.
So being supportive of the person means supporting whatever their choice is. And that sometimes is really difficult. So a lot of what we do in volunteer training is talk to people about why people stay, why people can't leave, what the barriers are, how everything gets intertwined to make it difficult for folks to leave.
Yeah.
And basically helping people to sit in that pain and support somebody.
Right, and help the person become strong in either way, either in their stay or in their departure, for sure.
Well, and the other thing we do is we talk to folks about when you leave, that is the most dangerous time. When people are hurt physically or even murdered, it is almost always when they're deciding to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So planning that leaving is super important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do on the hotline with people all the time,
Yeah.
is help them to figure out how to leave. So volunteering with us isn't easy,
It's not easy. No.
but it is fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of try to teach you how to be a better advocate in general. And I think that skill is it's really important to know in your everyday life as well as to doing this work,
Yeah.
any volunteer work, and it's definitely, it helps you grow greater skills for yourself as well as learning about the work directly.
Mm-hmm. So again, those classes you're hoping to do Wednesday, and you're hoping 10.
Yeah, I've been talking to a few people, a few potential volunteers. We're looking at Wednesdays 5 to 7. It would be in person, as well as having a longer Saturday. That way we can kind of get a lot of the training done and out of the way. And by the last day of May, you would be fully trained and certified, and we'd figure out how you would like to volunteer. Yeah.
Awesome.
We don't expect everyone that comes to volunteer training to
Mm-mm.
actually volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
It's good skills either way.
Right, it's good
It's a long
skills.
process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way for us to help more people in the community to understand
Mm.
the depths of domestic and sexual violence
Mm-hmm.
and how to respond. So I always figure if I've got 10 more people in our community that completely understand and aren't going to say, why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
That's a win.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get, 5 out of those 10
Mhm.
to actually be on our hotline or working with kids or
Mm-hmm.
helping us table, doing outreach, that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you speak of table and outreach, which you all try to do. You try to be in the community. I know last year you were at concerts in the park.
We will be
And
again this
things
year.
like that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you are out there. Your information is always available. You have
We
Facebook
try.
page, and you do try. And
Yeah.
so even if maybe right this minute isn't the time where you think you can put yourself out there, in a couple of months, you certainly are out in the community where people could still reach out to you, and you are very reachable just by looking, looking on your Facebook page and stuff and calling them.
Well, and we
calling the
always
line.
need assistance, whether it's monetary donations or
Mhm.
in-kind donations. Right now we have, because it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month,
Mhm.
we have some boxes at, I think there's one at Preston Kia,
Yes.
There's one at Fox.
and there's one at Foxy's,
Mhm.
and there should be some more out in the community soon,
Mhm.
where,
Yes.
you can put toilet paper, or shampoo, or conditioner, or detergent, or,
Toothpaste, toothbrush,
So-
just the
All those
basics,
things.
all of the things that we don't always necessarily think of that we need.
yeah. Well, because we have 6 families in our house, so you know how much toilet paper you go through in your house. You can just imagine how much
Yeah,
we go through.
exactly. Yeah.
So all of those things help, because that means we don't have to buy them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So people can help in whatever way is best for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if donating items doesn't feel best for you, there's also a QR code on the boxes just to do a monetary donation if that feels better for you.
Mm-hmm.
We are facing some possible funding reductions due to what's happening with the federal government. We may lose some federal funding,
Mm-hmm.
and we're hoping that doesn't happen, but it probably will. And we are going to be asking the community for more help at that
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
Or we're going to have to strategize how to continue to provide services with less people and less resources.
Mm-hmm.
So just hoping to make our community aware that that could be happening, and you may be hearing more from us about what we need.
And when you say that, and we talk about needs, we know that, the pay isn't super great. It's not like you're going to National Life and you're going to be in this position where you're going to make big bucks. What you all can pay out right now is sometimes a struggle for people
Yes.
to agree to. So you have to be somebody that's willing to maybe take a little less in pay, but get a whole lot back in other ways. Because
Well,
like you
and-
said, what you do is very meaningful and
Yes.
fulfilling.
And it is a struggle because we know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we don't want the folks that work with us to not have a roof over their head.
Yeah.
And we're a nonprofit, and we rely on donations and state and federal and local funding. And, you know, we do our very best to, you know, pay what we can.
Yeah.
But this is not work you do to make money.
No.
This is work you do because you're called to it.
Right. So you're all in with your heart for sure. So we also mentioned that it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I believe Riley, you've brought us some stats for that.
Yeah, I have a lot of stats regarding sexual violence nationally, as well as interpersonal violence, which is when you're in a relationship and experiencing violence. So just trigger warning if any of this may may impact you in a way that you may not expect it. But as for stats, half of women and 1/4 of men experience sexual violence in their lifetime. A lot of it, 4/5 of it, happens before you're 25, and 1/2 of it happens before you're. 4 out of 5 are before you're 25, and then 1 out of 2 is before you're 18 years old, so it happens very young as well. 1/4 of women who attend university experience sexual violence while they're there, only in those 4 years.
That seems low.
I know. I've done a lot of work in that area actually, and it is true. It does
It's-
seem low
okay.
according to
Yeah, okay,
people that I've talked to as well.
okay.
I know. 50% of rapes that do occur are in an interpersonal violent relationship, and 40% are by someone you know. I know that's a really common misconception that, you know, it's never going to be someone you know, but 90% of the time it is, and 50% of the time it's someone you're in an active relationship with.
And that's the thing that makes it difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're walking down the street and somebody you don't know pulls you behind a bush and sexually assaults you, that's less complicated.
Right.
Because
For sure.
it's not somebody you care about. And you still may not want to prosecute or involve the police, but it's still less complicated in your head. When it's somebody you know, it's very complicated.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
even more complicated if it's someone that you have consented to have sex with before.
Or a relative. Yeah.
Because, you know, yeah. So sexual assault is really challenging on all levels for folks to just deal with. Historically, victims are blamed. And it makes it very, very difficult to want to report. Go ahead, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, you're good. 1/2 of women and men alike experience psychological aggression by a intimate partner. And 1/4 of women and 1/7 every 7 men who are 18 and above are in an interpersonal violent relationship at some point in their lives. So it's very prevalent in every community, and it happens way more than is talked about and you may think. Experiencing these types of situations can lead to a lot of negative impacts on one's life, including often PTSD and some type of mental health challenge due to the experience that you've had. Often leads to drug and alcohol addictions and substance use problems. A less thought about one is financial problems that may come with this. You then have to pay to go through the legal process, or your partner may have had some type of impact on your finances that now the survivor has to deal with on their own. Oftentimes comes with self-harm. And another little fact I wanted to share is that the presence of a firearm in a domestic violence situation or household increases the risk 500% of homicide. So that's something that I'm fairly new to this work, so that's something that kind of has been brought to my attention way more often than I expected it to be. And I don't know. I mean, I know firearms are used for violence often, but 500%, it's just a really big impact. Yeah. Yeah.
So a couple of things to add. Just so folks know, in the state of Vermont, you can, if you are sexually assaulted or physically assaulted, you can go to a hospital and have a forensic exam. That exam does not need to lead to any legal stuff. You can decide. So you can go to a hospital, ask for it. People know it more so as a SANE exam, a sexual assault exam, but it's under a bigger umbrella now as a forensic exam. You are given consent at every step of that exam. So the nurse who is specifically trained to do these exams will tell you what's going to happen, ask you what you want to happen, and then document all of it. So you can do as much or as little of the exam as you want. It can immediately be tagged as going to law enforcement, or it can be stored and you can decide if you want it. There's been a lot of talk in the last couple of years about SANE exams just sitting. In the state of Vermont, there is no backlog. The state of Vermont is very clear about having all of those exams processed.
Wow.
And that's huge. So you can go and have it done. It's not fun,
No.
but it gives you options so that at some time in your life, if you decide to prosecute, you can, because that is stored. It also allows you to be treated for pregnancy or STDs or any of those things. So you can get the medication that will help to avoid any other medical issues involved with sexual assault. So I think that's really important for folks to know, that just because you go and have the exam, it doesn't mean you've made a decision about anything.
And we know that that's a tough decision to make for everyone, because like you said,
Absolutely.
you almost become on trial yourself. And
Yep.
so you have to be super strong about the entire thing and know that,
Well,
you
and
know, you're
that's-
going to have to work through a lot of stuff and be raked over the coals and your whole life looked at. And it's scary for some
It's
people.
very scary. It's
and-
one of the things that we can help with as well.
Exactly.
Is
right.
that we, when we're working with folks who are deciding to do a forensic exam or deciding to prosecute, we work with them continuously. We're with them through the whole process. So that we work with the state's attorney's office to make sure that people understand, well, there is no understanding the criminal process.
Right. There is, I was just,
There's negotiating the criminal process.
right. Right.
But we work with folks to kind of be the middleman, to help them to understand the process.
Right. Nobody does it alone.
That is our goal.
Yeah.
That is our
Yeah.
goal, is to make sure folks don't do it alone.
Which is huge. And can more often than not make the biggest difference.
Well, and a lot of folks we work with have not been involved with anything, court, legal, medical, any of those things.
Ever. Yeah.
You know, so going to court, like we support folks to get what are called relief from abuse orders, which you can get for sexual assault if the person who is harming you is an intimate partner or a former intimate partner, somebody you lived with. You can get a relief from abuse order. So a lot of times, it's the first time anybody's filling out that filling out the affidavits, going to court, those kinds of things, and we are there with you the whole way.
I know from experience, sometimes saying it out loud is the biggest challenge, just to say it out loud. And because it's almost admitting to yourself something that you've been trying to push down for so long.
Yep,
And
saying
so
it out loud makes
just
it
that
real.
one piece makes it real. And that can be super tough all the way around.
A lot of times when people call us on the hotline, they'll say that they've thought about calling for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And that they were really afraid to call because they weren't sure what would happen if they called.
Yeah.
So I like to reassure people, we are completely confidential, which means when you call us, we don't tell anybody
Mm-hmm.
that you've called.
Mhm.
If the police call us and say, have you talked to so-and-so? I cannot confirm or deny.
Mm-hmm.
If, your mom calls and says, has Janie called? Because I keep telling her to call. I'm really sorry,
Right,
but
you
I
can't
can't
say.
confirm or deny.
Yeah.
Every piece of paper with a name on it gets shredded. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nicole Tassi says, Circle helped me tremendously, and I am forever grateful for them.
Oh, so nice. We're glad.
Yeah. I know that you all go into court and for many different reasons, and it's not just the first day either. It's the process. And that's what I mean by, you're not alone. It literally is from start to finish. Or maybe a year from now, you're really struggling and you're thinking, man, I need something in my life, and that's familiar, and I saw him or her yesterday, and but reach out first.
Yep.
Don't.
We will talk to you about whatever is impacting you.
Mm-hmm.
There are folks we've been working with for 4 or 5 years because when you leave an abusive relationship, it's not over.
Mm-hmm.
If you have children,
Yeah.
you are then going to deal with custody for forever.
Mhm.
So we work with folks as long as they want to work with us. Sometimes criminal cases can take 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
We will be beside you.
It's awesome. I mean, I don't even know what else to say about it other than we're very fortunate to have you in our community, because there are many communities and states and that don't have anything of the sort at all. That's for sure.
Most counties and most states have a domestic and sexual violence agency. That's one thing that has really improved over the
Evolved.
years. Yes.
Which that's wonderful to
Yes.
hear.
Yeah. So you can reach out and you can,
Mm-hmm.
There's also national hotlines. If you call us, we can direct you to the organization that's in your area.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nicole also says they sat by my side in each court hearing, each group as an individual, and they probably saved my life by helping.
Oh.
We are so glad.
Mm-hmm.
We are so glad. And that's why we do this.
Yeah, it's
Right,
like
that's the
that.
part that makes it worth it, right
Yes.
there, right?
Yes.
That's what makes it all worth it.
Yeah. Well, and that's why we do outreach as well, is because we really want that to be for everyone that goes through this.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people understand about how domestic and sexual violence work and what abusive people do, the better they can respond to their families and friends who are going through this.
Mm-hmm.
We talk to folks every day who haven't told anybody because they're afraid of what the response will be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a definite stigma.
Absolutely.
In whether it be, I think that's something that's not always looked at either. You look at stigmas if you're talking about substance use disorder or, many other things in the community. We look at the stigma behind it if you have a criminal record or things like that. But no one ever really looks at the stigma that people may feel or how they feel. Like, I know for myself, and perfectly, I thought that everybody knew. It was always I always thought, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody, and so I was ashamed, and and it wasn't so at all. Like nobody knew, and had I just maybe said something, those people that I thought I had, had to hang my head in front of, probably would have helped me instead. So we can conjure up a lot of that for ourselves, and that's part of the fear, though. That's part of the separation of it all.
And it's part of why an abusive person will isolate. Because if you don't have anybody to talk to,
Yeah.
the voice of the abusive person is what you hear. So it becomes this process where you don't get to say to your friend, this is happening. Is this right? And your friend say, oh, nobody should treat you that way.
Yeah.
But that conversation doesn't get to happen because you're being isolated in order to have it continue happen. You brought up substance abuse, and I just wanted to say really clearly that substance use makes folks less safe. And that goes for both sexual assault and domestic violence. Often, an abusive person will encourage substance use because they will then have more control over you. And it just generally makes you less safe. Many things get intertwined with both sexual assault and domestic violence.
Yeah.
And the more complications there are, often a good example is if someone is using a substance and is sexually assaulted, that will get used against them. Well, you were drinking. How do you remember what happened?
Right. Right.
So those things are used against the victim often.
Used against, and there are many victims that use a substance of some sort to numb it all. That's how they self-medicate. And then you're talking about another whole gamut of stuff that you need to work through yourself. And so reach out first. Use Circle instead of the alternatives, and people and supports, and because they are there.
Do you have our hotline number?
I'm going to put it up here.
Yep.
Yeah, you can tell me you tell me, and I'll put it up here.
1-800. Oh, I'm lying.
877.
877. 1-877-943.
543.
54. Oh my God, you say it.
877-543-9498.
My brain is not working.
I
Thank
did
you,
that the
Riley.
other day. Yeah.
And that is the Circle hotline?
That's our hotline, 24/7.
Yeah, we'll pick up right away if we're in the office. If we're not, we get a text to our phone, and you'll hear back from us very, very soon.
Yeah, that's the thing to know. If you, speaking of,
We're both on call right now. But yeah, if you call outside of hours or when someone isn't in the office, it'll send you to an answering service. Tell them however little you feel comfortable, and it gets sent right to our phones. If someone doesn't answer within 5 minutes, it gets sent to the other on-call person, so you'll get a call back pretty immediately from a blocked number. So that's something to know as well.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that
Please answer if you called us. We're calling you back.
Because you're going to call back from restricted. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's ringing, like if we're not in the office, it rings about 5 or 6 times before it goes to the answering service. So wait. This morning I had 3 calls in a row where I could tell I was already on the phone talking to somebody, and then but they didn't wait to get to the answering service.
Right. They just,
Just
tried
rung
again.
and hung up. Yeah.
Yeah, try it
And
again.
that's the other thing, like, depending on how many people are available to pick up the phone, and like I said, there's 5 full-time people, and we're not always in the office at the same time, we may not get to you immediately. So try and wait, and then we'll call you right back.
Nice. Do you have to develop safe words and things that, I mean, how do you communicate afterward, after the initial communication, the initial, do you always wait for the phone call to come to you?
Yes.
You don't ever
Yes.
call,
The
except
only
for
time-
that
the-
time.
Yeah, the only time that so if a phone call goes to the answering service, then we're assuming that it's safe for us to call you back, right? Because people call us when they're safe.
Yeah, and they ask too. So in the text that we get, it says yes, safe for call back, or no, just something for us to be aware of. Don't call that number back.
Right. But we always wait for people to reach out for us, unless we've made some sort of an agreement with when we'd be calling them.
Yeah.
Because we don't know when they're safe.
Right.
We don't know whether or not,
Someone else could pick up the phone, or if they're just in the home with them.
And as far as like safe words and stuff, it depends. We do all kinds of safety planning, and it's very individual to the person. A woman I was talking with today said, just so you know, if I hang up, it's because he came in. Got it.
Yep.
I've had people, there's the pizza thing. I'll take a large pie, and hang up.
Yep.
And that way, so that the abusive person doesn't know that they were talking to us. Internet safety and phone safety right now is so important, because if you are on the same plan as the abusive person, a family plan, they can see who you're calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something that we always try and help people to think about. We often give out phones so that it's a phone that
Not trackable.
is not trackable to the abuser.
Same with internet history. If you share like a family computer, they can see if you've come on our website, so make sure to delete what you can, or go to the library and use a site where the browser history, no one's accessing that.
Yeah, it was so much easier back in the day when cell phones didn't exist.
Right. You called from a landline, you hung up, and that was
Right,
it.
and nobody knew.
And nobody knew.
Yep.
Yep.
And
You
now
know,
with AI,
And
it's
payphones-
just everything's expanding.
Payphones existed, and you had opportunities that, it seems like we have great opportunities now, but really sometimes it can be a hindrance.
Well, yeah, it's, it's good and bad. When folks come into shelter, we have them take off the location on every app.
Yeah.
It's not just on your phone.
Right.
It's every single app. Because people can get tracked.
Yeah.
I mean, Snapchat has a whole map where it just shows you where you last opened the app. Shows everyone that you're friends with. Like,
Yeah, it's scary.
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah.
I did not know that, but I don't use Snap either. I don't,
Yeah.
I do know that if you share a Verizon account with somebody, you can look at their history, their browsing history. You can, because you just sign into your Verizon account, and then it shows you every device that's on that account, and you can see who was called, who was texted, what time those happened. And you can look at history, activity, where you've been, what you've looked up on Google, or if you watch something on YouTube. Which was shocking to me to learn that there was actually that much on there.
Yep.
And I found out when I was looking for my son, when he was missing, somebody said, well, do find my phone on your Verizon account. And I didn't know how to do it, and it's actually pretty simple. And I was shocked at, though, I was very grateful to have that information.
Right.
But it was very shocking to me to learn exactly what was there.
So, two things. When we talk to folks on the phone, on our hotline, and they're thinking about leaving, it's one of the things that we talk to them about is getting their own phone line. That if they are on a family plan, to try and figure out how to get off of that, or just get another phone that they use, get a burner phone, so that they can communicate
Yeah.
that the abuser doesn't know that they have.
Yeah.
Second thing is that we always talk about what the abusive person does for work. Because anyone that has a really good sense of IT is going to be much more dangerous. So, like, that's a new thing of the last, like, 10 years, to really kind of get a sense of, tell us about what this person does for a living and how tech savvy they are. Because people can get tracked all kinds of ways, and it just makes it way harder to disappear.
Any upcoming events that you can tell us about? Do we
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, a little bit. So as we were saying, it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We are working on a few things. We talked about the donation boxes. If you want to go and find them, that would be super cool. They'll be popping up. We today planned a trivia night. It is going to be at the Quarry, May 7th. That is a Wednesday from around 6 to 8. So you can come on out, see us. I think I'll be running a little Jeopardy, so that should be fun.
Perfect.
We are working on tabling at the concerts in the park, and it may be collabing with the farmers market this year.
Yes.
They're merging.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be at those. As for other events, we don't have anything we're ready to advertise just yet. You'll be hearing about it on our Instagram, which is
And here.
here.
Yes, on
Yeah.
802. Yeah.
Cool.
We'll make sure that we blast anything and everything that you're doing always.
Beautiful, amazing.
Thank you.
But so you'll be definitely hearing more if we are planning more. The other thing I'm working on for Sexual Assault Awareness Month is I'm going to post a little bingo board on our Instagram, and it'll have stuff like do a self-care night or come to volunteer training, and you'll get more information on that tomorrow or the next day. Yeah.
Perfect. And like I said, we'll make sure to share it here, anything that you're doing, and I will make sure that as the boxes go out, that I update that and people get the information about where they are and the needs. And there is a list of needs right on the box.
Yep.
Actually, I should post that list too, because I
That's what
have
I was
that
thinking.
list. So
That'd be
I'll
awesome.
Send that
I'll
to
post that
Raven.
list and get that out there so that people know exactly, so that when you know where the boxes are, you know what you're bringing
Yeah.
to those boxes. But super important. How long will those be out? About a month, or maybe a little more, because they're kind of getting dispersed right now.
Depends what the businesses want.
Yeah.
I'd love for them to stay forever.
Right.
Probably about a month.
Right,
Yeah.
empty, bring them back,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, we'll be going and checking on them.
Yeah, and like you said, we know that the need is there. It's absolutely there, and especially while you're waiting in the wings right now to find out what you may or may not get for funding.
Correct.
Because it is a lot. Like you said, toilet paper alone in
Yeah.
the
We
houses.
go through toilet paper, we go through
Soap.
dishwasher detergent, laundry detergent,
Cleaning supplies.
cleaning supplies,
Mm-hmm.
diapers. Diapers, we always need like size 6 and 7.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens with families where there is violence is potty training is not a thing that occurs easily.
Yeah.
So many times we have kids that come in that are 2, 3, and 4 that are still in diapers.
Yeah.
Not anybody's fault, just the reality that violence equals chaos, and potty training requires structure.
Right. Right.
So it's
Yeah.
the antithesis of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, people want to give us tiny little diapers. That's lovely. We don't get tiny little babies most of the time. Every
Most
now
of
and then, we've had babies born in shelter.
Yes.
Really?
We have, yes. But most of the time, folks aren't going to leave right then. They're going to be all hopeful that things are going to get better.
Right. The baby.
So it's when kids are 3 and 4 that people leave, and we need bigger size diapers and pull-ups.
Nice. So I think that we've covered everything that you may need to know, except can we say again the contacts as far as the emails and stuff, because I think that I wrote it wrong, which I'll make sure I go in and delete. But I think I did .net instead of .org, and then I heard you say .org, I think. So
Yes,
let's
we are
say those
.org.
again so I can
Yeah.
put those in.
Yeah.
So we have CircleVT.
.org.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the website.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so that you can look at the volunteer stuff through that one?
Yeah, so if you go to our website, there's a tab that says help or volunteer or something, and you'll find a volunteer application on there. It would be awesome if you want to fill that out and email it to me. And my email is riley@circlevt.org.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's RILEY?
Yes.
Riley at.
Or just to the info at, either way. We get both of them.
Okay. I just want to make sure for the volunteer apps.
Perfect.
Perfect. So I just want to make sure that those are in there as well. And do we want any other addresses or emails or phone? Or
No, I think
those are
that's
it?
good.
I think
Well,
those are
our-
good.
Yeah, you can reach us at the info@circlevt.org.
Okay.
You can reach us that, if you need to email us, that's the way you can do it.
And if you'd also want to put maybe the Instagram and Facebook, I check all the DMs as well.
Okay. And so find on, I just want to make sure that we get all of that in there and that people know that they can get you at all of those different places. So Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And I guess the last thing I wanted to say is that I know we call it a hotline, but you don't have to be in crisis to call.
Mm-hmm.
That we welcome calls from anybody who wants information about domestic or sexual violence.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a friend who's being hurt and you want to understand how to help, if you have a family member or, and I say this to all the different collaborating agencies, when we talk to Capstone, when we talk to Family Center of Montpelier, whoever we're talking to,
Mm-hmm.
call us and give us a hypothetical. Say, I'm working with this family and this is happening and I'm not sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
We brainstorm really well about all of those kinds of things.
Right. You're just another community partner.
Correct. Yep. And we want to be able to help this community to be able to address whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that it's difficult to talk about and people would like to think it doesn't happen, but it does. And I personally believe that if we could solve domestic and sexual violence, we could also make a big inroads on substance abuse and mental health and
Yeah.
homelessness and
Yes.
all those things, because it all gets wrapped up together.
I agree. It's I agree wholeheartedly that it's never just one thing. It's a gamut of things that, here it just kind of snowballs,
Yeah.
really.
Yep.
And so you all have to be prepared to deal with many different things and, as you say, be a piece of the puzzle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always.
Which is wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for
Thank
coming
you,
in.
Randy.
You are welcome to come in anytime for anything. You're welcome to send any information anytime, and I'll make sure to get it out, get the word out as fast as I possibly can and as often as I can. As I told you, we do several different podcasts. We have several different ways to get that information out, and involved with several different groups, and just want to make sure that you get the help that you need
Thank you.
somehow, some way. And if people want to donate, like you said, there's QR codes. They can go to the Facebook page. They can go to the website.
Yep.
All of that information is there. Monetary is always great too, so you can get what you need when you need it, kind
Yep.
of thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you
Yeah, thank
being
you.
a part of
Thank
this
you.
community as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing all you do.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, so we are going to tune out for now, and there will be no table talk at 4. This counts as our table talk for today. We will see you tomorrow at 4 for a table talk. Jeff and I will. And in the meantime, don't forget the ladies are on tonight, 5:30 for quarters with Lori Shepard. And I am sure that there's tons of sports stuff to talk about. But I know nothing about it, so I'm not going to say another word. And you just you tune in and check it out, and we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks for joining us.